And we're live. Hooray.
Hello. I'm going to pull up the chat. I just finished the book this morning because apparently that's how I like to do it. And so I'm still like processing some of the things that happened, but at least it's really fresh in my mind.
Yeah, not like me because I finished it way heck early.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you took notes and stuff.
I thought it was going to take me way longer to read. Like, I thought I'd have to check out the audiobook a couple times, but
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't. It was like only 2 weeks or something.
Oh, well, that's good. All right. I got the chat up. So, what did you think overall?
Well, I think this had a lot of moments that I thought were really great. But I also feel like I was expecting a bit more from the end.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah. I mean, this whole book was basically the last battle, and I love that about it because I love reading about battle tactics and stuff. Um, so I really liked that part of it. There are a couple things about the ending that I was a little disappointed with, like the very ending. So I don't know. We can start by talking about the end and then like talk about other things afterwards. I just finished, like I said, and so I'm still kind of processing things, but my immediate feelings after finishing the ending were that I don't understand how Rand lived. Like, I liked that he lived. I wanted him to live. And there was this whole thing about Olivia was supposed to help him die, and she obviously did something to help him live, like transferred his soul into Moradin's body or something. But we didn't really get an explanation of like how that happened. So that was a little bit disappointing. Like I said, I'm glad that he lived. I wanted him to live, but I just want to know how he pulled it off exactly. And then the other part of that I found really disappointing was that like now that he's survived, he's just like gonna go off and live by himself, or maybe the women are gonna join him or whatever. But he he has so many friends and family who think that he's dead, and they're just gonna like he's just gonna let them think that he's dead. Like, I understand letting the whole world think you're dead, but at least telling your friends and family. Like, that seemed a little cruel, and I didn't like that.
Yeah, that was basically my exact thoughts too. I thought that it left it almost too open-ended for the last book in a series that's not going to have anymore. It was just
Yeah,
way too open-ended. It was almost like there's going to be a spin-off and then there's not, obviously.
obviously, yeah. I don't think I got the feeling there was going to be a spinoff, but I got the feeling that he wanted there to be some like happy ending for Rand, and I wanted a happy ending for Rand too, but I wanted a happy ending in which his friends and family like didn't think he was dead. Like, that part really rubbed me the wrong way.
Because
So
there's no real reason for him to just kind of go off.
yeah, I mean, I guess it's like he wants to live a normal life and he couldn't do that if people knew that the Dragon Reborn was alive. But like, tell your dad. I don't know.
Yeah,
His
really.
dad is like burning his body, and I mean, I at least the three women who are bonded to him know, but I don't know. I just didn't love that part.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah. Okay, we can talk about some other stuff now. But I mean, other than that, like, I loved like pretty much everything else about the book. There was a lot of good moments. We saw a lot of our favorite people, like main characters, die. Um, I know that some people really like it when there's a lot of like main character deaths. I'm not one of those people, so I was happy to see the people that lived to live. Um, I think so. I thought I was gonna cry a lot more during this book. Just I wasn't sure who was gonna die. I thought I would cry more. I think I cried like 3 or 4 times, but the first time that I cried, and I think the one that got me the most was when Egwene died.
I was
That
not
one,
expecting that at all.
yeah, that one
That's
really
one
gutted
character
me.
death that I did not expect.
Yeah, definitely. Um, I so shortly before that, Gawain had died, and I actually had been spoiled that he was gonna. I spoiled myself actually. Somebody didn't spoil me. I it was like back when I had started like picking up these books again, not like most recently, but a time before that. And I was like reading some mid-series book, and I couldn't remember who, like between Galad and Gawain, who was who. And so I did a quick Google search, and that ruined it for me. I found out that Gawain dies at the end of the book series. So that one I saw coming. I think I might have been more upset by that if I hadn't seen that coming. Well, and he was wearing those rings that we knew were gonna like supposed to make him die or whatever. So that one I guess wasn't too surprising. But yeah, when Egwene died, I was like, no.
Yeah, the character death that I had spoiled myself for was Swan.
Oh no, I didn't know she was gonna die. That surprised me. It happened so fast.
Yeah, like I knew that she was going to die at some point in the series, but it didn't actually, what I saw didn't actually tell me when or how or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't even know if it was at the end or not.
Yeah.
So in each book, I was like, oh no, is this where Swan dies? Is this where she dies? Oh no, oh no. And it was like, that was the end.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. That's how I was with Gawain, because I knew that he was going to die. And I think it was the last book, maybe the one before, when he's fighting the assassins and like he like blacks out and he's like bleeding and Egwene's on the bed, like sleeping. She's stuck in Teleron Riyadh. I was like, this is it. He's going to die. This is it. And then he didn't die there. Yeah, but Swan really surprised me because like Min had that vision about her and Bryn, and I thought that had already like happened and was like taken care of. And then in that moment where Min was like, "No, I still see the image above your head. Like, if you don't get back to him, you're gonna die." And I still thought that like it was coming. Like I didn't think it was gonna happen right then. Ugh, yeah, that was a hard one too. What other character deaths were hard? Um, I I'm glad that Fael didn't die. I thought that was gonna be like an off-page death, like because she like left Oliver and then like we kind of assumed that she had died, but it also seemed like that that she wouldn't die that way because she was so important. But I was glad that she didn't die. Lan, I thought he was gonna die. I thought he died. I cried because I really did think he was dead. Brigetti, when Brigetti died, I cried. Oh my gosh, that one was tough. And I was so confused when she came. Like I shouldn't have been confused, but I was so confused when the Horn of Valir brought Brigetti back. And I thought that the Horn of Valir also brought Lan back because that all happened around the same time. Him like standing up with Demondred's head. And I was like, oh, is he now one of the heroes of the Horn? But no, he just wasn't dead.
Yeah, yeah, because
I thought he was.
that's what I thought too.
Mm-hmm. So that part surprised me when Oliver, I thought, okay, when they said that Oliver was blowing the horn, I was like, okay, well, nothing's going to happen because it's tied to Matt, but at least Matt will know where the horn is and he's going to like go get it. But then all the heroes came back and that really surprised me. So that's a question that I still have because the Heroes of the Horn told Matt that it wasn't the hanging that severed his ties with the horn, but there was another time that he died or almost died and Rand saved him. And that's what severed him from the horn. And I can't think for the life of me what that was. So there are definitely still like a few questions that I have that I don't think were wrapped up. There's also the question of who killed Asmodean. I don't think that, I mean, supposedly that was answered in like a non-direct way, but I didn't pick up on it.
No, me neither. I was totally thinking about that too.
Yeah. I know that it was not Demondred because when he was fighting, I think Lan, he was trying to figure out who Lan was, and I think one of the names he threw out there was Asmodean.
Hmm.
Oh, I'm just catching up on the chat. Hi, Graph. He said he also doesn't know how the transfer of Rand's essence happened. It would be really nice to know how that happened. And Graf thinks that Rand would tell his dad in time. I sure hope so. But I also feel like the sooner you tell him, the better. Like, he's grieving more at the beginning, and like the longer you wait, like the worse it is. He asked if I cried at the end. I actually didn't cry at the end. So I also was a little bit spoiled about Rand not being dead. Someone had said in a comment somewhere, like, kind of made an allusion to Rand being Christ. And I was like, okay. But also there were clues because the girls who were bonded to him weren't like distraught. So I think that even if I hadn't been spoiled for that, I would have been very suspicious that he wasn't really dead anyways. Um,
Yeah.
but I think that's part of the reason why I probably didn't cry when Rand, and like Nynaeve just like walks out of the tent and is like, he's dead. I was like, that can't be how he dies. Like, that's not right.
So what did you think of the Dark One telling Rand that even if I lose, I still win?
Um,
Because I thought that
I
was interesting.
Yeah, I think that was interesting but not surprising. The whole series is all about balancing good and evil, and I understand that like without evil you can't have good. You know, like it's not the same. You have the life is about the fight between the two, you know, and without one then it's like not the same anymore. So,
You almost have
um
nothing to compare the good to and know what's good if
right.
no evil. So
Yeah.
if we didn't have, corrupt politicians, for instance, we'd be more mad at like the guy who cut us off on the highway, or like
Mhm.
the rude waitress or the rude
Right.
coworker or whatever it is. Like that would be like more evil to us than
Yeah, you need like the perspective.
yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like it fit really well with like the theme of the series. I feel like I've seen it before too. I mean, I guess kind of in like I mean, not to get into I'm not going to get into specifics, but you see something similar to that in the Mistborn trilogy too, the first era at least. Just like a balance of good and evil and how like you have to have both. And I think it makes sense. Sir Book Sage says that he thinks it was Lanfear who killed Osmodian. That did occur to me. Like I considered that, but I didn't see anything that made me sure. So I'm gonna have to do some googling, I think. And he was gutted by Swan's death because it came out of nowhere, and I agree. Yeah, it came out of nowhere. I was not expecting that. I was also not expecting Egwene to die. Like that one really gutted me. Especially, I always have a hard time with like when people sacrifice themselves for others. So that one was hard. Another death that really gutted me was Bella. She was like with Oliver and they were escaping, and like at that point in the book I was like, all right, I love that Bella has like survived the whole book, the whole series, like this is gonna be awesome. And then at the last minute she gets hit by an arrow and goes down, and I was just like, no. And I mean, animal deaths are always really
I
hard for
know.
me. So hard for me. She was such a good horse. One thing that I loved about this book was that like everybody had their own part to play. Like I don't know how I mean, I know that they're going to have to like slim it down for the TV series, and I know that they're going to be able to do it, but like I don't know how they're going to do it because I feel like everybody had such an important role, and like things couldn't have happened the way that they happened without so many of these characters.
Yeah,
Like
I agree.
yeah. Like Perrin doing his whole thing in like the world of dreams was so important, and him killing Lanfear at the last minute. Like I was real confused a lot of the book why Lanfear was helping Perrin. So I'm glad that that part was kind of revealed, her motivations, when she was like, okay, now we're both gonna like kill our friends, and she tried to compel him. So like he had his role to play because he had to kill Lanfear and he had to kill Slayer, and then Matt's role was to kill, or like to kill Pat and Fane. I was worried that that wasn't going to get wrapped up because I knew, like, we knew that Paddington Payne was still alive. But like he hadn't really made an appearance. Maybe he makes an appearance at the very beginning of this book. And I was like, what's going to happen with him? Are they going to leave that like open? So I was glad that they resolved that. But like Matt was needed because he was the only one who could defeat the mist and stuff because he'd already like been touched by it before. So yeah, everybody has such an important role. Graf said, poor Bella. Was Fael under her when Perrin found her? I don't think so. Because Bella went down when Oliver was on him. And Perrin, I think, found her under a Trolloc, I'm pretty sure. Sir Booksage said, I had a feeling Egwene was going to die in battle. I knew one of the big ones had to die, and once Gawain died, I had a feeling that Egwene would, at the very least, burn herself out in the battle. Yeah, that's smart. I wasn't say I wasn't surprised. I was surprised. But yeah, it makes sense that it would be her. And when Egwene bonded Lyowen, at first I was kind of like mad because Lyowen has a husband. Like I didn't want Egwene to die or and like drive Lyowen mad or Lyowen to die in service of like saving, because I like Bael Domon and he kind of disappeared at some point. Like we don't know where he was during all of this. But so I was really glad before Egwene died, she released her bond to Lyowen so that she like wouldn't go crazy. Same thing with Alana. Like I'm glad that Alana released obviously her bond to Rand. Otherwise that could have been very bad. Graf said the show will be a cast of thousands. Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah. He said, I hadn't seen or understood that he was under compulsion, probably talking about Perrin. Yeah, no, I knew that he was, I wasn't sure if it was compulsion or if it was like Lanfear making Perrin believe, basically the same thing, but compelling him using Teleron Riad over like compelling him using Sidar. But I think she was probably using Sidar. But I love that Perrin was able to like develop this power of being able to undo weaves when he's in Teleron Riad, and like to be able to jump in and out of Teleron Riad like in the flesh like that. Like that was a really cool thing. So much of the stuff, like the groundwork has been laid like so early in the series. Like the Horn of Valier, that happened in the second book. I don't know. There's so much stuff that was like figured out ahead of time, I feel like.
Yeah, I think throughout the whole series there totally has been.
That's one thing that is still like so amazing about this series, I feel like. Graf said, when you read it again, and you will, it will still be amazing. I agree. And I definitely think I'm going to read it again now that I know the ending. Like there's so much more. Like I know how rewarding rereading this series can be because I've read like parts of the beginning over and over from like the middle. But now that I know the ending, like I definitely want to go back and reread some of that stuff. I think I'm going to wait a while, obviously, but I definitely want to reread it. Do you think you'll reread it?
I think so, yeah, because there's definitely, I mean, not for a while, but like, right. But yeah, definitely, because I think it's definitely one of those things where you get more out of it the more times you read it, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can definitely speak to that as far as like think about the first half of the series when you knew Varen, and like you know now that she was a dark friend, and you can go back and, but I can tell you that when I went back and read, I was looking for clues of her being a dark friend, and there really aren't any because she was like a double spy. Did you know that something was going on with the generals that were being compelled?
Not really.
Yeah. I didn't at the very first, but then once it was happening to at least two of them, and it was like Agomar, who I was so sure was not a dark friend, and Bashir, who I was so sure was not a dark friend. So I was like, no, there's something going on here. And when parents saw Grandal in Teleron Riyadh, like whispering in their ears, and Lanfear like told him that's what she was doing, I was like, okay, she's controlling. I didn't realize it was compulsion. I didn't know how like she was controlling them through I thought it was like through their dreams or something. But I knew that there was something going on. But I was really worried that like Elaine relieves Bashir of his post and like says that he's a dark friend, and I was afraid that they were just gonna like kill him right there. So I'm glad that they didn't do that. And I'm glad that when Lan, he went to Lord Agomar and he realized, he didn't immediately think like you're a dark friend. He was like, no, someone's messing with you. So I was glad that he jumped to that conclusion too.
Mm-hmm. I do think it was pretty funny that they had to turn all the forces over to Matt because he couldn't be compelled.
Yes, that was really smart. And actually, someone just asked, have we talked about Matt the general too much? And we haven't yet. So I knew that Matt was going to be in charge. So like towards the mid beginning of the book, when Elaine is made like the general of everybody, I was like, wait, what? I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Like it needs to be Matt. I don't understand why you're making Elaine be it. So, I mean, in the end, it ends up being Matt anyway. So I guess that makes sense. And Matt wasn't there at like the field of Marilor when they made that decision. And I guess he was needed to like, he needed to go to the Shanchan to bring them in to like bring everybody together. But yeah, when they first made Elaine be the general, I was like, what? She's like an 18-year-old girl. I mean, yeah, she has some training, but like, I just didn't understand that. But I mean, apparently she was okay at it. She did have training through Bryn and stuff. But I'm glad Matt was the one who did it. I mean, Matt's like, I'm pretty sure Matt's my favorite character at this point. Like, I love him, and he always was making jokes when things were serious and like keeping, I don't know, he's so smart with like battle tactics and stuff. And he's good at like using humor to disarm other people and like make them like him and stuff. Like the way that he made the general who was like right under Tuan like actually respect him and like him. Like I love that.
Yeah, he's pretty much my favorite character too.
Yeah. Graf said he would read it in a few years. I don't know when I'm gonna read it, like reread the series. I think maybe like maybe in a year or two. I agree. At least, not in 2008, 2019. The thing is like I want to reread it while things are sort of fresh so that I can pick up on things, because if it's like a really long time, then I won't notice as much of the foreshadowing. So it's like this balance between like you want it to be kind of fresh so that you pick up on things, but you also, it's a huge time commitment. So you don't want to do it too soon either. Yeah. I know some people will just like finish and then start over and like read the whole thing again too, which I think is funny.
Yeah, because you also don't want it to be so fresh that you pretty much remember like every single thing, like you remember it too well.
Right. Yeah. Because then it's not as fun. But I think that what I might do is, I know that there's like different podcasts that go through like chapter by chapter or every couple chapters and like break things down. I might want to do something like that where I could like listen to it and just like learn about all the different things that were foreshadowed, because part of me feels like I'm just not smart enough to pick up on it all at once anyways. Oh, so Graf said that his favorite characters were Andrel and Pavara. We haven't talked about that. I love the Black Tower storyline. Like that was only barely being introduced, I think, at the end of last book. And I also really liked those two as characters. I thought it was really interesting how they bonded each other, and it resulted in this like unique relationship where they were kind of like telepathic, and they could kind of control each other's weaves whenever they were linked and stuff. I thought that was really interesting. But Androl was such an interesting character because he had that talent for opening gateways, and the way he was able to use it, I thought was really interesting. Like there was a scene where he used it to pour water into a cup, and he opened the gateway from like a mountain creek or something and like poured water into a cup from it. And it was really cool the way that he did that. I was very nervous for them when Taim had caught them and they were like underground and things were not looking good. At the end of the last book, there was like a hint that there was something wrong at the Black Tower, where they had like could see that people weren't really the same anymore. And I remember thinking like, okay, there's definitely something to that, but I don't know what is going on. So I was like glad to find out in this book what was going on. I mean, I feel like I should have guessed because we knew that people could be turned to the power, but it's like one of those things where there were clues, but like I just didn't put it together. And what a scary idea that like you could be turned to. I said turn to the power. I mean like turn to the shadow. Yeah, that part was a really cool part of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Sir Book Sage said, yes, the Black Tower I can't talk. Plot line was great. Androl and Pavara are among my favorite parts of this book. Yeah, I'd have a hard time saying they're my favorites in the whole series because they really didn't even like exist for most of the series. But definitely one of my favorite parts of this book. And I I also like the part where Logain was telling all the Ashamen to go do something, and Pavara's like, no, we really need to go help these people with the dragons. And Androl's like, okay, let's go do that. And he like comes up with some excuse to make it like make sense, so he's not breaking the rules or breaking his orders from Logain. And the way that they trick the followers of Taim to go into the steading, like that was so smart and really unexpected. I was so confused because Androl disguises himself as Rand to like trick them into following him, and I was like, what is Rand doing there? Like that doesn't make sense. And of course it wasn't really Rand. But also another part relating to Androl's storyline that was really funny was when he went to Taim and he like Pavara had put the mask of mist or whatever over him so that he looked like one of Taim's followers, and then Taim puts another one on top of it and makes him look like Androl. And he goes back to Pavara and she's like, what happened to your disguise? And it was like because Taim had disguised him as Androl, not knowing that he was actually Androl. I thought that was so funny. So this book obviously had a lot of like really intense moments because it's like a battle throughout, but I thought that Sanderson did a really good job of dropping in like moments of humor along the way too. There were definitely a lot of moments where I laughed at stuff.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. What did you think of Logain's storyline? So he struggles with like obviously he's fighting for the dragon, but there's that one point where he wants to go get the saw and Grial or whatever that Taim had dropped, and he has to like choose between saving a bunch of people and going to get it. And Androl is actually the one that convinces him to go save the women and children. And then when he does, the people there like adore him, and that makes him really happy because he's like so used to everybody hating him, and he just thought that that's how it was going to be forever. So I feel like he got some redemption in that scene, and I was glad to see it.
I think one of my favorite moments was when Egwene finds out that Matt is married to Tuon, Where she
Yes.
basically just, like, shows up there, and Matt's just like, "Oh, hi, Egwene," and then, like, basically it yeah, it's that was just whole all really funny.
Yeah. He
And
asked Tuon like multiple times, like, you married him? She just can't believe that anyone would marry him.
and also the fact that Tuon didn't know that Egwene had actually been captured and had to wear the collar.
Yes.
And so she's like, "Well, if you were to wear a collar, you'd agree with me." And she's like, "Actually, I did, and I don't." Face
Yeah.
and then she's
Yeah.
like, "Matt, why didn't you tell me about this?"
Yeah. That's
That
funny.
whole scene was really funny. I think that was one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah, and I thought it was really interesting that Tuon was so convinced that people would want to be collared. Oh, speaking of collars, I was very happy at the end when Mugidian, she gets caught by them and is collared. And I was like, yes, because I was like, we can't let her live through this. Like, she can't just like go off and survive. Like, that's not okay.
No.
But at that moment, I was also kind of wondering about Elida, because we don't really know. I don't think we know what happened. Like, we know that she was captured and she was made into um, a Damani, but I don't know if like during the last battle she died or not. Like, we never got a scene with her. That was another thing that was kind of cool about this book, was we got a lot of like very short snippets from some of the minor characters that we've seen along the way. Like, he included a scene from Hurin, um, and Jewel and Sandar, just to show us that they were like alive and fighting. So many people still died though. Like when the queen of I was gonna say Saladar, that's not the right place. Um Fael's cousin, she dies. Fael's parents die. Ugh,
Oh,
yeah,
neat.
yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people die. It's almost like there's nobody left.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the important characters lived, which, like I said, I'm totally fine with that. I want my favorites to live. So yeah, I guess the only like really main character to die was Egwene.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trying to think like what were some of my other favorite moments. So much happened, especially towards the end.
Let me take a look at my notes here. I think we went over everything that I made notes of.
Yeah. Well, there's gotta be more. So much more to talk about, I'm sure. Um yeah, that ending. I just wish like I liked it. I just wish it'd been a little bit different um with Rand. But I mean, I'm glad he lived.
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely expecting more like epicness to be at the ending somehow.
Yeah, I guess like while the battle around Rand was really epic, um, his his battle with like the Dark Lord was all like in his not in his head, but it was so like metaphysical that. But I mean, I guess it shouldn't be too surprising because it was kind of like that in like other books before. Anytime he's had a big battle like that, it has been not like direct fighting.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just the fact that the whole battle was really epic, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, Rand like wakes up and he just like leaves.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I just wish that part had been a little bit different.
Hmm.
Um, I was really nervous for Tom because he was like fighting outside of the mouth of the cave, and he's by himself, and I was like, oh, something's gonna happen to him. So I'm glad that nothing happened to him. I'm glad that him and Moraine get to like be happily married. Um, I was a little surprised because one of the scenes that we saw from him, he says he like sees Cat Swain like going past him into the cave, and then he turns around and throws a dagger at her. And I was like, "What is he doing?" And then we find out it wasn't really Cat Swain. but that definitely surprised me. This
Yeah.
book had a lot of like little red herrings to like make you think something was going to happen or something was a certain way and then it wasn't.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh no, Kitty, where are you going? She's leaving.
Oh no. Graphite Hat says that he or they appreciated that the book was pretty much just a war from start to finish. I agree. I knew that there was this big chapter titled The Last Battle that was like a million pages long. Not really, but it was very long. And so I thought that just that part was going to be like the main last battle, but it was really the whole book.
Yeah, I mean, I remember we talked at the last live show that this book was basically the whole last battle. And so in some ways I was kind of worried that it would get very like a lot of the same stuff, but it like wasn't at all.
Yeah, yeah, there were definitely like different like ups and downs to the battle. There were some points where things were looking really bad and I was like, I don't know how we're going to survive this.
Yeah, pretty much.
Especially when all of the generals had been like compelled and like they had made all those mistakes and people had died and I was just like, oh my gosh, how are we going to survive this? And Fail accidentally like gets taken to the blight with the horn. I was like, no, we need the horn. Like, how are they going to save it? I was pretty shocked when Oliver was the one to blow the horn.
No, me too.
Yeah, I definitely, that was like another kind of like red herring that like this whole series, basically they'd set up that Matt was connected to the horn and nobody else could blow it. So when that happened, that really surprised me. Oh my gosh. I also cried when after Oliver blows the horn and he like, the Trollocs are trying to get to him. I think he's like hiding somewhere. And the person who saves him is Noel, who came back because he's tied to the horn. I like burst into tears because he loves that little boy and it was just such a good moment.
Yeah, that was really awesome.
Yeah. Graf asks, what spinoff would you like to see if you had to pick one?
What?
What spinoff would you like to see if you had to pick one?
What spin-off?
Like if you could pick a spinoff out of all of these characters, what would you want to see?
That's a really good question.
Yeah. I think I would want to see Matt and Tuan, which I think Graf said that earlier, that he wished there was a spinoff with those two. I agree. That would be a good one. Or even just like Rand and his three women. Like, what are they doing?
I almost wonder what would happen to Elaine and Rand's kids because like chances are they might be like really strong in the power and whatnot, and like one of them could turn out to be really evil and the other one could turn out to be good. I don't know.
Yeah, that
Like
could be
there's a lot of stuff that could happen there.
I mean, and I'm pretty sure that Avienda is going to have kids with him too because she saw that in her like, vision.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Ugh. This is
Graphite.
why with me.
Yeah. Graphite Hat said that a lot of series end with just one big battle and that's it. And that's why having the whole book be a big battle was good.
Blah. I'm totally coughing. I'm just gonna take one of these.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'm glad I at least have a voice because I sure did before.
Oh yeah, me too. Simon Kelly said the last battle has a higher word count than Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Like that chapter.
Oh, that one chapter. Oh my gosh.
I bet. I think that's what he's saying. Yeah. I was also really happy for Brigetti. Like, I was sad when she died, and that happened really fast too. She was just like beheaded. But I was really scared for Elaine in that moment because that guy was like saying that he's gonna cut her babies out and keep them alive with the power. I was like, oh my God, is this how our kids live? And like, we're about to lose her. So I'm glad that didn't happen. But I was happy that when Brigetti came back, she was happy because she was saying that she had all of her memories back and that she knew she was about to be born, and that she was going to be able to be with her like love again in the next life or whatever. So I was glad that that worked out for her.
Yeah, it was interesting that Elaine was still really sad,
Mm-hmm.
just because the bond had broken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, but that whole part was really really cool, and yeah, it made me really happy um that she came back when the horn was blown.
Yeah.
I
And
definitely thought like
she
that
was
death
worried.
so fast. I was like, no way, no
Yeah.
way is she dead.
Yeah. And she was worried that the way that she'd been like ripped into the world um, was had torn her away from the wheel and that she was no longer going to be able to be reborn and everything, especially because she was like losing her memories and stuff. So I'm glad that that ended up not being true.
Hmm.
Sir Booksage said that he was impressed with how well the final battle was written. It's not an easy thing to do to write a battle spanning hundreds of pages. I agree. Especially
Definitely.
with so many like red herrings and like thinking that something's gonna be one way and it ends up being a different way. Um, one thing that I liked, but also made it a little bit hard to follow, at least on audiobook. I like doubled most of the time with audiobook and looking at the book, which helped. But there's so many point of view changes within a chapter, and a lot of them were really short. I think that helps a lot with pacing and like keeping things going and keeping it exciting. Uh, but when you're listening to the audiobook, when it changes point of view from a male character to another male character or female to female, sometimes it's hard to like pick up that you've changed point of views. And it happening so often, I think that made it a little bit hard to follow along. So I was glad that I was reading along with it most of the time.
Hmm.
Graf said Avienda is supposed to have 4 kids with Rand. Oh, that's true. It wasn't just one. So, I mean, that means she's definitely going to go find him.
And then we still don't know about Min because she's the one who can view everyone's
Yeah, so she can't
things
view
that are happening.
herself.
She can't see herself.
Yeah, well, and now she's like tied to Tuon. Like Tuon's not going to let her go do whatever she wants. So I hadn't really thought about that. That'll be interesting. I
Mhm.
mean, hopefully she can escape occasionally to go see Rand. Graf said he was so mad at Mellar, who was the guy who who killed Brigetti and attacked Elaine. I was mad too. I wasn't surprised to see him there because actually a chapter or like earlier in that chapter, there was a scene with the 2 Tinkers who were Aram's parents were like walking through the field and trying to find people who were still alive for healing. And they were talking about Aram and like the way of the leaf and all this stuff, but they heard some mercenaries running around, and someone said the name Hanlon, which was Malar's real name, David Hanlon, or maybe that was his fake name. Anyways, it was one of his names. So I was like, oh, he's here. Like he's here. He's probably looking for Elaine. So I mean, I was still surprised that Brigetti died so quickly in that scene, but I wasn't surprised when he showed up because there had been a little clue that he was coming.
Hmm.
Graf said, who was Guidel Kane? Who's the person that Brigetti is tied to, like her love? Some say it was Oliver, but I don't think he is. What if he's one of Rand's kids?
Hmm.
That's really interesting if he was Oliver. I
Yeah.
don't think it was one of Rand's kids because I also don't think it was Oliver. I mean, time in Teleron Riyadh is different. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, I don't think it was one of Rand's kids because none of them had been born yet, and Guidel Kane had disappeared from Teleron Riyadh while Brigetti was still there, like before she had been ripped out or whatever. So I think he'd already been born. But that also means that he was only born like 2 years ago at the most, I think. Um, So that's why I don't think he's Oliver, because I don't think the timing lines up. But also, timing in Teleronrod is different. So maybe I still don't think it's Rand's kids because I think he was already born. Like Brigetti was supposed to be born a couple years after him. But Oliver seems a bit too old, but I could be off. I don't think we know who Guidon Kane is. That's an interesting thought. Did you have any like more questions left over that you feel like weren't answered?
Well, not really. Not really anything that we haven't already kind of discussed.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm trying to think if there was more things that I felt like weren't answered. Gruff said Brandon Sanderson is very good with POV changes. I agree. He's good at them. And having lots of POV changes, I think, really helps with keeping the story feel fast-paced, especially when you have a battle spanning thousands of pages or hundreds of pages. People in the chat, what were some of your favorite moments from this book? Do you have an all-time favorite moment? I think mine was probably when Oliver blows the horn and it actually worked, because like I didn't think it was going to work and I didn't want him to die. So I think that was probably, I don't know, it's hard to say if that was my all-time favorite moment, but it was definitely a really good one.
Yeah, goodness, my voice is just
Sorry.
but like I still think my favorite moment is probably when Egwene finds out that Matt and Tuon are married and stuff.
Yeah, that's a pretty funny one.
Mm-hmm.
Graf said that Brigitte is coming into the world soon, not Guidal. Yes, I agree with that, but Guidal was already born like a couple years before. She said they're always born a couple years before, and he's always born first. And in an earlier book, she had noticed that he had like disappeared. Sir Book Sage said that one of his favorite moments was Cadsuane being roped into becoming the Amerlin. That was funny and unexpected. I wasn't expecting them to want her to be Amerlin. I kind of think she's kind of old to be Amerlin, honestly. But I mean, she would make a good one at the same time.
I I had actually seen something online that said something about her being the Amerlin, but I had totally forgotten about it because I was under the assumption that that would happen way sooner.
Oh,
Yeah, like I thought it would be like, you know, Egwene would only be the Amerlin for 2 seconds and then Cadsuane would be the Amerlin or something like that.
yeah.
So since we were this far into the book and Egwene was still the Amerlin, I totally forgot all about having seen that.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that surprising to me because then I recalled like, oh, that's right. Like I saw that on some webpage.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, we're winding down to the last 10 minutes. So if anybody in the chat has anything they want to make sure we talk about, be sure to let us know. Yeah, I'm surprised that I don't have more to say. I thought I would. I was still like in shock after finishing it like 30 minutes before the show started. I should have taken some notes or something. I feel like my immediate thoughts we definitely touched on. Graf said that he loves Rand and that his story is his favorite. And he said, what if Brigitte is one of Rand's kids? That would be super interesting. That would be a fun thing to find out in a spinoff too. Like if we had a spinoff about Rand's kids and we find out that one of them is Brigitte, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, that timing makes sense that someone is about to give, well, yeah. I think that timing makes sense that it could have been, and it would be cool for Elaine to have that tie.
Mm-hmm.
Sir Booksage said he was happy for Nynaeve and Lan. I was happy too. When I thought Lan died, that was one of the things that I was upset about, was that they didn't get to have their happy ending. So I was really glad that they got to be together and were like had a happy moment.
Same here.
Yeah, he said if anyone deserved to be together at the end, it was them. I
Mm-hmm.
agree. And I felt the same way about Moraine and Tom, although I guess not as strongly because they were kind of more like a newer union. But I love both of those characters, and I want them to find happiness.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad that like Fail didn't die, so Perrin gets to be. I mean, they had some happy moments before that. There were actually, I guess, there's a lot of like happy couples at the end of this, because you also have Berlain and Galad. Like he actually ended up surviving, so they get to like be together. Matt
Yeah,
and Tiana.
there weren't really any situations where one person of a couple dies and not the other one.
Yeah, yeah. Because the only ones that died were Gawain and Egwene, and they were a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I had a thought just now. My voice is kind of going too. Graf said, I actually like the idea of Ren having a life of obscurity, but if RJ was still alive, I think he would have written more in this world. Yeah, he probably would have. And I
Yeah.
would have been down for it. Hopefully not another like 14 book series, but more books in this world, definitely. And I'm excited to read some of the short stories that have come out that are set in this world. I think recently there was like a chapter or something that had been cut from this book that Brandon Sanderson released that I want to read, and I think there's like a short story.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm. And what was that thought I had? There was something that I was like, oh, I need to say this. We're talking about Galad and Berlain and so one of like it's kind of a weird pet peeve, but one of my pet peeves in books is when somebody like dies with a secret that doesn't get revealed to like the people involved. I know that sounds kind of vague and hard to understand, but the example would be I thought Galad was going to die without finding out that Rand was his brother. Like, I hate when there's a situation like that and like we as the readers know, but then the characters that are involved in the situation like don't find out who's who or like what the secret is and die. Like, that drives me absolutely nuts. So I was very glad that that secret got around. I mean, it's kind of like a roundabout way, because how did Gawain, somebody tells Gawain, maybe I think it was Rand himself, tells Gawain that he's related to Galad. Yeah, because he's talking to Egwene and they're all there. And then so Gawain, as he's dying, he's able to tell Galad that, and Galad finds out, and then he goes to fight Demon Dread. Man, Demon Dread was hard to kill. Gawain died trying to fight him, and so did Galad. I thought Galad was going to kill him because he had the medallion, and he's such a good fighter. Like we've seen him kill so many sword masters or blade masters before. So I was like, okay, he is going to kill him. And when he failed, I was just like, oh my gosh, I don't know who was going to kill him. I guess Lan is a better swordsmaster than Galad was. But yeah, I was really glad that Galad found out who his brother was before he died, and then he didn't end up dying. I really thought he was going to die. Oh, Sir Booksage said that he'd like to say a huge thank you to both of us for the read along. He was long overdue to finally finish the series. It was a massive undertaking to take us through this journey. Yeah, it was a fun ride. I'm glad that we did it too. And it's so funny because I had already like started reading, like rereading the beginning of the series, and then I saw that you like wanted to read it, and I was like, let's read it together. And it was so fun to have like once a month a time for us to sit down and read it. And I think that it would have taken me, maybe probably not you, but it would have taken me longer to finish the series if we weren't doing one a month. You probably would have like read it in 6 months or something. Graf asks what we think about Galad and Berelain. I think they're perfect for each other.
Pretty
Like,
much.
I'm happy for them. They're both like very into their looks and stuff, and they have like an instant attraction, and if they can be happy together, I also think that Galad will be a good influence on Berelain. Like, Berelain is very much into politics and like manipulating people, but Galad is very into doing what's right. And so I think that they will have a good effect on each other.
Yeah.
Grass said that the Wheel of Time was only supposed to be 3 books. Can you imagine the story in 3 books? Yeah, that's insane.
That would not work at all.
No, not at all. Demon Dread had 72 channelers. Yes, he did, but when Galad was fighting him, he was wearing the medallion, so like the channelers couldn't affect him. So it was just like Sword Master. I can't remember if they're called Sword Masters or Blade Master. I think it's Blade Master. But 2 people with some Huron marked blades fighting each other, and like I felt like it was sort of even playing ground, and I thought that Galad was going to be this better swordsman. But he wasn't. He lost an arm, but I'm glad that he's okay.
He lost an arm, but he's okay.
Yeah. Well, and he's with the love of his life, so. Graf said, yes, thank you. I've really enjoyed this. Good. I'm glad that people have enjoyed reading it with us. It's been really fun to like be able to discuss things book by book, especially because it was your first time reading it, Roya. So like there were things that I knew at some points that you didn't. It was definitely a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm really glad that I read this as a read along. I don't know. It would have been a really different experience reading it just like because I can't.
Yeah, because you probably would have like I don't know, a lot of questions, and I don't know, it would be very different to read it by yourself. And also like the Wheel of Time, like there's a huge community surrounding it. There's so many people, not necessarily in booktube, but just like so many people in the like internet world who are really into it. And it's just going to get even bigger as the show comes out. Like I'm so excited for the show. I mean, I really hope they do a good job. I think they will. I think everyone who's working on the series is a fan of the series, and I also understand that it can't be like exactly the same, so I'm okay with that. But I hope that we're happy with it. And I also was thinking like maybe the next time I read the series, I'll kind of time it around when the show comes out, or I don't know. Depends. It's not like I might not always know what seasons are going to cover which books or whatever, because I think that they're going to combine some books and stuff. But
Probably.
maybe my next reread will be tied to the show, but we still don't even know when the show's coming out, so I don't know. We'll see. But I'm definitely excited to like delve into the world of all the other spoiler content, like a bunch of Daniel Green's videos that are spoilery that I haven't been able to watch. There's another channel named Bliss who's done a bunch of videos that I wanted to watch, but I couldn't because they had spoilers. But then, like I said, there's like podcasts that go like chapter by chapter, but they like talk about all the foreshadowing and stuff. And so I really want to listen to those podcasts and just like delve into the world of all the spoiler stuff that I couldn't before. Now it's going to be such a different experience, like being able to Google whatever I want about the series and not worry about getting spoiled for stuff.
No kidding.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks everybody who joined us. I'm glad that you guys had fun. Wait, I lost the window. Sorry. Ugh.
Well, you're still here.
Okay, there it is. I got it. I'm glad that everyone had fun reading along with us, and I had fun reading it with you, and this has just like been an amazing journey. So thanks everybody for joining us.
Yeah, thanks
And
everyone.
yeah, I mean, I guess we can't say we'll see you next time, but subscribe to our channels.
Yeah, this was really fun.
Follow us on Twitter. We can talk more about Wheel of Time there. So, all right, thanks guys. Have a good weekend. Bye.
Bye.